Hey, welcome to The Quad, the Board Game Geek Show, where four notorious characters from around the world of hobby board gaming meet to discuss game-related topics. Each one of us will argue, defend, or fight to have our chosen example shown to be the best example in the given topic of this week's show. I'm Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of Gaming, chairman of the board for the new publisher Play to Z, member of the board for the World Series of Board Gaming. You can find me all over social media as the Podfather of Gaming on Facebook and on my channel on YouTube and anywhere you want to get your podcast, Board Games Insider.
I'm Candice Harris from BoardGameGeek, and I have a much shorter intro than Stephen Bonacore.
Of course you do.
That was actually pretty short for Stephen, I thought.
Oh my God, they're starting already.
Truncated.
My name is Matthew McCack. I am one half of Room 51. You can find me on all sorts of social media at This Is Room 51. You can also find me at Twitch as Room 51 Live.
All right, so I am Ryan from Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. I am the lesser half of the Ryan and Bethany part of that. She's unable to be here right now, unfortunately, which is a bummer because, like I said, she's the funnier, more better looking. Everything about this whole thing is worse that she's not here. But
you need
it's
to
okay.
cancel.
Yeah, exactly, canceled. So you can find us on YouTube on Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Also, we are investors in Play to Z, the new... I know, right?
Dropping the name, Play to Z.
Play to Z, check them out for sure. Got lots of fun stuff coming up from them, including a game that I might be involved with. So I'll talk more about that later in the future.
But wait a second. I love you, Ryan, but we contracted for big money for Bethany to be here as well. And we got no Bethany here. So guys, where's the producer of the show? Where's Derek? Derek, I don't know if we can go on like this.
There will be a fine slapped on me, I'm sure.
I think there's going to be a fine. We're gonna sue you. All right. Thank you seriously for joining us. We really appreciate it. And on pretty short notice, too. We kind of threw this because of Gen Con craziness and everything
Absolutely.
like that. We got this together pretty quickly. But today, we are going to discuss... Give me that drum roll, Derek. Best deck construction games. And each of us is going to tell you why our example is the best of these games, or our favorite in the genre, or what makes it special in this category. First, let's define what a deck construction game is. Ryan, why don't you take that?
Absolutely, why not? So this is in stark contrast to a deck building game. A deck building game is during the course of the game, you are building a deck for various reasons. A deck construction game is before the game even starts, you have made a deck that has some kind of synergies behind it, and you're going to use that deck in the game to play the game. So it could be the first part of the game is the deck construction, and then the second half of the game is actually playing against the game itself or against other players. And that could be the form of like a CCG or a TCG, a trading card game or a collectible game, or like a living card game, something like that, where the game cards don't have any kind of rarity. They're just kind of given to you and you make your own decks with them. But those are kind of the ways that you might find a deck construction game.
I'd like to start mocking you, but I can't. That's pretty good.
That's
You
really
did a
good.
job there.
Yeah.
Well done, well done. All right, so let's begin with our presentations. And who's going first?
That would be me.
Oh, Matthew, go for it.
Yeah, best is the first. So, my game is Lord of the Rings, the card game, or the living card game. And this was published by Fantasy Flight Games in 2011, way back when. And it is for usually 1 to 2 players. If you combine boxes, you can play up to like 4 players. Actually, I think the new box now comes with enough so that you can actually play with 4 players. But anyway, this is a cooperative adventure style game set in The Lord of the Rings, the best theme of ever. And I don't think anybody here could disagree with me. And anyone who doesn't like Lord of the Rings is an absolute nerd. So
that's not how I remember that going in my head in high school, but
well, anyway, so you are trying to overcome a scenario that you've been dealt in the game. Sometimes it has some sort of campaign going on. It could be a standalone one-off scenario that you're doing, but essentially you are constructing your deck. You have some rules to follow in terms of how to construct a deck, how many types of characters and stuff that you can have. You're trying to survive. This game is very, very difficult to beat and to survive. You are questing. You're trying to gain your quest tokens onto the scenario card before essentially all of your heroes are defeated. And that's really the bulk of the game. But the deck construction part is so important in this one because you really have to maximize what you're doing for each scenario. You can't just kind of go into every scenario with the same deck, which is something I really enjoy about this game, because it stops it from being stale. It's like, no, I have to rethink what I'm doing. And I really see it as part of the game rather than like, because sometimes with deck construction, you could sort of feel like, oh, that's sort of like the homework or something before I could get into the meat and potatoes of the game. But this one is like, no, it's really part of the game. That way you can even like get in there. There's scenes from the book in this game. It's so much fun. Like I said, the questing, there's a lot of different, what's called choices that you want to make. Either you're questing or you're fighting with heroes, or you're defending with heroes. But like I said, it is very difficult to beat this game. It is definitely the best deck construction game on the list. I don't think anybody even has to start talking at this moment. Lord of the Rings, the card game, baby.
Well, Matthew, it's funny that you mentioned the word homework because as I recall, just the structure of the flow of this game is very complex and a bit dated. And I love Lord of the Rings, the card game, actually, but it is, for some reason, it's hard for me to get this one to the table. I have lots of cards. It is a fantastic pick, but I think Arkham Horror, the card game, and then Marvel Champions smoothed out the flow of what a cooperative game could be with an IP.
Let me ask you, have you won yet?
I have actually, yes.
With the core box itself, I love a hard co-op. I found it to be unwinnable with just the core box. You need additional stuff.
Get good.
So Matthew only picks games with themes that he knows I like. So I can't bash them too much. So I call foul just based on that, right?
I called it immediately.
And yeah, and everyone on the planet knows that Lord of the Rings is my absolute jam. I love all games about it. And I'm so dying to play this game. I have it over here. Cars,
you played it.
Many of the expansions. I bought it. I got it in like one of those like flea market type things for like almost nothing. I just bought it and it's been sitting there dying to play it. So you stink, Matthew, for making me say this is good. But I'll mock it because it only has in the base game 3 scenarios and it only has 12 of the heroes and there's only 4 pre-constructed player decks. There, it sucks.
That's actually really good, but okay.
All right, that was pretty good. Who's next?
All right, so the game that I want to talk about, and this is a little bit of a mouthful, this is Vampire the Masquerade Rivals Expandable Card Game. So it just rolls off the tongue, really smooth like. But this is part of, or based off of the World of Darkness RPG. So it's already got that theme already kind of woven into it from the start. This is a 2 to 4 player game. It's an LCG style game where you have cards that you're going to keep on getting and you're going to build your decks before the game starts. My favorite part about this game is the Rivals mechanic, where you're kind of numbered as player 1, 2, 3, 4. But then at the beginning of each game, you are going to deal out tiles 1, 2, 3, 4 to the other players. And then that the number that you're assigned, that's your rival for the whole game. So you can attack other players if you want to, but there's one person that you're trying to single out. And you're going to get the most amount of victory points if you go for that person. All right, so this is also in the world of vampires, right? So not only can you attack each other, but every round, just random NPC humans are going to show up, and you're going to get a chance to eat them, which is fantastic. All right, so not only to eat those humans for points, fight each other for points, but there are, in the base game, 4 factions, and then tons of new boxes give you more and more factions. Each one has a different way to get agenda points, and agenda points are your victory points in the game. and they all have a different way of getting them, which means effectively every faction has its own win condition, which is very unique, and to balance that, all that must have been incredibly difficult, but it is all very balanced within the game. All right, so blood is your resource because we are vampires, right? So that leaves you some fantastic choices. Do you spend the blood that you have, which is kind of your health, or do you use it to activate some cool abilities? So every choice you have all these interesting decisions of, should I bring out more of my characters? It's going to lower my pool of blood that I have to use, but it's going to give me more things to do, more actions I can do, more variety of things I can do on my turn. The pre-made decks are all very interesting. They're all very balanced. But the game really comes into its own once you start building your own decks, customizing things before the game starts. You can really build some fun synergies. You can even combine those factions together, so you can kind of swarm people with different tactics that they don't maybe expect. This is a little bit involved. It's a 3.39 weight on BGG. Lots of keywords, that kinds of thing. I think all these kinds of pre-constructed decks have that kind of, I wouldn't say flaw, but we'll call it a characteristic, right? It's not a bug. It's it's a bit benefit. So you're trying to make your decks go attack each other, specifically your rival, and eat as many humans as possible.
So they had to make this game with a name that is the most obnoxious possible. Is that basically is what you're saying to us here? And they literally had to put the type of game directly into the game name. So I mean,
that way
you can't miss it. It's an expandable card game, guys. It's right there. It says it right there. So again, you're definitely tugging on like themes that I love. I'm a huge fan of Vampire the Masquerade. I role-played in the system back in the day. I LARPed in the system back in the day. Do not judge.
I want to see that.
You are a vampire.
I am a vampire in real life. Major nerd. My costumes and all that. Cool. And on a former episode of the Quad, I talked about Vampire: The Eternal Struggle, right, which is the CCG based on this entire, World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade system. While I've never played this, it does sound interesting, and I've always had my eye on it. It sounds very complex. That's going to be my big knock on it. It sounds like a game that if you don't get into heavily, you're going to forget all the rules constantly. But I love the very thematic nature of the fact, and it plays exactly like the card game and the role playing game, because you have blood as a resource that you can use it to create power, or you can save it for your own life. It's your life force as well. So it sounds pretty darn good.
I don't know. I've actually played it. Played it once, and I found it to be. Like, there was a part of me, it was a 4-player game, there was a part of me that was intrigued, but then there was a part of me that was just like, I could not wrap my head around it. Like, I think it is, like, overly complex, and the other problem I have with it is I feel like the art looks very dated and just, like, blah.
That's what I was actually going to point out as well. The art for this game and the graphic design of this game seems so dated. And I believe this game came out in like 2021, if I'm not wrong. So it's
what
like,
happened?
Why does it look so old and meh?
I wasn't aware we were judging the graphic design of games. I didn't realize that was the topic for today.
We are.
Oh, yeah.
We judge everything.
We judge everything. Anything we can talk about. I'm very intrigued by the theme of the game. I love vampires as well, just like Bondacore. The game seemed intriguing. The complexity rating was a little jarring, and that's coming from somebody who picked Lord of the Rings, the card game. But I think, like Bondacore said as well, like it seems like something that if it's a game that you're really only focusing on, awesome. But if you have more of like a collection style like I do, not as much. It probably won't hit the table as much, and I will forget a lot of the rules.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But Ryan, if we're ever at a convention and you have like 3 hours and you want to explain this game to me, I would be more than willing
Come
to
find
sit
me.
down with you.
I got your back.
If we're not
Same.
playing a Play to Z game,
Absolutely right. A far superior game.
drop that.
Can we talk about a game that is very easy to learn and looks beautiful?
Nah.
Go for it.
All right, my pick is Ashes Reborn, Rise of the Phoenixborn. This game was originally released, I think, just as Ashes Reborn in 2015. But this new version, Rise of the Phoenixborn, came out in 2021. It's designed by Isaac Vega. It's from Plaid Hat Games. Plaid Hat Games is always knocking it out of the park with their production quality, everything. You know, they're one of these companies that doesn't put out a million games, but they do them right. Ashes Reborn can be played with 2 to 4 players. It's mainly played head-to-head as a card dueling game. But there's also a Red Rains expansion that exists now where you can play it cooperatively or solo, and it's awesome. But in this game, each player is going to play as a Phoenixborn. You're going to have a card that represents your Phoenixborn, and you're trying to take down your opponent. You're going to be deploying allies into your battleground, casting spells, all just trying to cleverly knock out your opponent. But what kind of sets this game apart from a lot of games that maybe sound like that is you'll have a deck of 30 cards, but you also have dice, magic dice. And the game comes with I think 6 pre-constructed decks with 6 very different playing Phoenixborns. But you could also build your own deck. And I'll get into that in a minute, but let's talk about how it plays. So basically, number 1, you have this really simple player aid that you could probably just play the game from that. If you haven't played it in a while, you don't even need to crack open the rule book. But you're going to roll your pool of dice, any of your dice that are exhausted, and then you have those available to you when you're playing cards, because a lot of cards have a cost of they need you to spend a specific type of magic die. But you could also, if you don't like the results of your dice, you can meditate. It's a little action, a minor action you can take to shift a die to whatever side you want by discarding some cards. Also, the dice can be activated on their own, and you have lots of different types of dice that have different effects with different cards and different Phoenixborns. You also have conjuration cards, so you can summon these cards that kind of sit off to the side as a side deck, and you'll be building out your spell board. It's really, really cool. All of the Phoenixborns are really unique, and the art in this game is stunning. They broke the traditional mold of the framing that Magic the Gathering does, and they just let the art sing. And it's really, 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 really fantastic. But as far as deck construction goes, it's really open and easy. There aren't many restrictions. You can only have a max of 3 copies of each unique card. But the cool thing about the deck construction in this game is you're not just thinking about what cards do I want to throw in, but you're also thinking about which magic dice do you want to include, because you have some creative decisions with that, how many of which type of dice, which cards am I putting in my deck that'll synergize with my Phoenixborn. And just throughout the game as you play it, you just have so many fantastic decisions for how you use your dice pool with your cards. And again, the fact that you can play it now cooperatively, solo, it's just awesome. So that is my pick, Ashes Reborn, Rise of the Phoenixborn.
It sounds like a great arts and crafts project you've been talking about here. I was also reading online that about 30% of the cards had to be rebalanced because they were made so poorly the first time.
I was going to say, I have it right there in my notes. They had to re-release 350 cards to fix the game.
And that would all matter if I was talking about the original version.
Oh, okay.
You
were talking about the new version.
Yes, Rise of the Phoenixborn.
That's great.
This is cute that this is all you guys can come up with.
It took you 5 minutes to get to and the deck construction of the game. You were the game.
Wait, is this the guy who said this War of Mine was a worker placement game?
I might have cheated there a little bit. Go back to the last episode, 14. I might have cheated a little bit, but I did prove it was a worker. Anyway, I literally could care less about this theme. I mean, obviously the first 2 were theme. theme. This is crazy. I literally, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. None of what you said thematically was interesting to me at all. It sounds like it's a nice, simple, flowing game, and that would be easy to get into, but I don't care. I'm not interested. I'm just not interested.
Wow.
Oh, boom.
Wow. This is one of Rodney's favorite games.
Oh, okay. I'm in
So
trouble.
you better rethink.
Rodney, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
This was the one that I was most excited to hear about because I actually have this game in my collection. I have not played it yet, but I'm very excited to play it, and I love Isaac Vega as a designer and as a person. But the one thing, and this is from somebody who has not played the game, and this is a genuine question. How much does the deck construction really go into it? Because it sounds like you could really just play out of the box without really constructing the decks.
I think that's up to the player. You can totally, I think at this point, 20 different Phoenix Borns that have pre-constructed decks, and it's so fun to just take out a deck and go head to head with somebody. But if you are the type of person who really wants to fine tune, they make it easy to do it and fun, and it just kind of depends on what you're into.
Okay,
But it
so
can
deck construction
definitely
is
be played-
pretty much not part of this game.
Not even part of the game. It's not even part of the game. It's not there.
So I
Doesn't
win.
count.
It is a big part of the game.
Unlike in Lord of the Rings, where you really need to construct that deck, this game you don't even have to have the mechanism in there. So
It is funny, and
Wow.
in all seriousness, every time we do one of these with these shows, and I'm talking to the audience now, I literally want to play every one of these games.
Same.
Because every one of the people who show up, right? We the usual hosts and the guests are so passionate about the games that we bring here, and literally, okay, we just added 3 more games. I have to now play with somebody. So get ready. All right.
Yeah, honestly, this does sound like it's a cool game. I like how it's easy to get into. That's a big barrier to entry in these kinds of deck construction style games. You have to kind of know the game before you can start building the decks to the game. So I like that's kind of a easier barrier to entry in this category.
Cool. Thanks.
Very, very cool. All right. So last but not least, but best, of course, is my pick in the best deck construction game. And that is Gloomhaven, published in 2017 by Cephalofair Games and many other language partners. The designer is Isaac Childers. Mechanisms. There's 23 mechanisms listed, and of course, one of them is deck construction, which I will show you why it's actually the most important part. The categories are adventure, exploration, fantasy, fighting, and miniatures. 1 to 4 players, ages 14 up, plays in somewhat around a lifetime, but each session is 60 to 120 minutes. Ranked number 3 on BGG, and of course, spent quite some time at number 1. Gloomhaven is a tactical game of combat in a persistent world of shifting motives. Players will take on the role of wandering adventurer with their own special set of skills and their own reasons for traveling to this dark corner of the world. Players must work together out of necessity to clear out menacing dungeons and forgotten ruins. In the process, they will enhance their abilities with experience and loot, discover new locations to explore and plunder, and expand an ever-branching story fueled by the decisions they make. This is a game with a persistent changing world that is ideally played over many game sessions. With a scenario, after a scenario, players will make decisions on what to do, which will determine how the story continues, like a choose-your-own-adventure book. Playing through a scenario is a cooperative affair where the players will fight an automated set of monsters using an innovative system to determine the order of play and what a player does on their turn. As I mentioned, in Gloomhaven, each player takes on a role of an adventuring character, and many of the standard fantasy tropes are represented, as well as some pretty darn new cool ones. Selection of a diversely skilled set of characters is rather important, and cooperation of the party is very important. Utilizing each character's unique set of skills is the most important. Let me digress for a moment to say that basically everything that I just mentioned can be applied to the description of a role-playing game. But while Gloomhaven has an RPG element, and no one is stopping you from role-playing your character in this game, It's much more akin to a combination of a storytelling game and a tactical combat game. And herein lies some of the brilliance of the game design, as well, of course, the deck construction element. Each character begins the game with a deck of cards that is unique to them. The player must then choose a set of cards that the character will have available during each game session, each adventure. As the characters go from adventure to adventure, they will gain experience, level up, and this will add cards to their available pool, providing them with more powerful cards, but also more choices for their next adventure when they do their deck construction. And the deck construction, while seemingly easy, since you may only have like 20 cards to choose from and you have to make a 12-card deck, give or take, depending on the character and the level, is painful in a good way. It hurts so good. Every time I play, I excruciatingly select the cards, knowing that if the adventure ends up in a direction that I was not expecting, I am leaving cards out of the deck that I would have needed. But man, does it feel good when you're able to play that amazing card combo that hits all the monsters, sets them on fire, kills most of them, and you go on to victory because you did it. And one thing I want to say, and to drive home Gloomhaven, it is really a monumental achievement in game design. Isaac Childers, the designer and the owner of publisher Cephalofair Games, just knocked it out of the park with this, and of course then went on to do Frosthaven and other adjuncts to this entire system. How you could possibly have created a game with a structure that's not an RPG that can easily last for hundreds of hours of gameplay chipped into that 1 or 2 hour blocks is an immersive storyline with character development and goals is just mind-boggling to me. It's a game that I could have chosen as best in many of the 23 mechanisms that are listed on BGG because it's that good on so many levels. In conclusion, the game is just genius. It is the best deck construction game, but so much more. In this massive box, you will literally play with your friends for hundreds of hours. You will have an unfolding, engaging, riveting, suck you right into the storyline game experience. And as you are doing that with each play, you'll have to calculate the best constructed deck of skill cards to bring with you on the adventure. And then the best way to play each of those cards to maximize your effectiveness for the party. Your Honor, the defense rests.
Whoever said that, oh, I know, I want a really good deck construction game, I'm going to go play Gloomhaven.
Yes.
No one says that. It's a dungeon crawler for all intents and purposes. If this was a dungeon crawling, episode, maybe, sure. But it's not. And to even get to the deck construction part, you have to pass, the first scenario, which I cannot because I'm apparently very bad at this game.
Well, and you have to open the box and just like unboxing it is like its own game.
And putting it back is another game.
Oh my god. That's why I only play it digitally.
Yeah. It is an excellent digital implementation too. Agreed.
Yeah.
It feels like the deck construction is almost like a push your luck game in and of itself. Like you don't even know what you're going to be going up against, so you make it based off of what you think might be coming in. It's more of a guessing game than it is a deck construction game.
He took off his glasses.
He's so...
I just think, we're going to have to add some guidelines to the games we pick based on the topic. Like, if the mechanism is under 10% representative of the overall game, maybe it shouldn't be on the episode. I don't know. And then classic Bonacore fashion, he picks a very excellent game and a popular game and a unique game, and he's trying to sell people on that, forgetting that we're talking about deck construction. And if you said deck construction to 100 people, nobody would say Gloomhaven.
That's wrong, first of all. But I usually pick some weird games. I mean, like this War of Mine was a weird pick last time, so I don't always pick popular games. So don't start.
I thought that was. I guess it wasn't a popular game. You're right.
It is not a popular game.
It's popular with me.
Oh, is that also? Obviously, I won. But
No.
All right. So today we tackled the very difficult, maybe controversial topic of deck best deck construction games, and there really are a lot of great games in this category. I hope you all agree that the choices made by the co-hosts here were excellent and really representative of the category, maybe except mine. What do you think? Tell us in the comments below. Agree, disagree, say Candice has no idea about good games, whatever you'd like. Let us know in the comments below. But whatever you do, please like and subscribe to this video and channel. And in case you've forgotten, I'm Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of Gaming.
And I'm Candice Harris from BoardGameGeek.
I'm Matthew McCack from Room 51.
And I'm Ryan from Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And we hope to see you here next time on The Quad. Here we go. It's starting early.
We never go more than an hour anyway. But
yeah, we're always really good. We got to get Matthew out of here in an hour. Okay, everyone, big smiles before I start the speech. And here we go.